Hello, SIC paddling community. Welcome to another edition of SIC Talk Story, Brews and Boards. My name is Casi Rynkowski, and I'm the athlete team manager, and I am here today hosting one of my favorite topics, badass women and their humble beginnings to great achievements. So I'm fortunate today to have a panel of wonderful group of ladies here from the SIC team who hopefully will inspire you with their background stories of how they got started, some of the challenges they met along the way. So without further ado, let me do some quick introductions of who I have here. My first guest is from Key Largo, Florida, and now resides in Melbourne Beach, Florida, where she lives with her husband and fur baby. She is the 2019 world champion and 24-hour long distance paddle Guinness World Record holder. Besides being a professional athlete, she is a stand-up paddle nutrition and wellness coach. Welcome, Seychelle.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Casi. I'm stoked to be here.
Super psyched to have you too. My next guest is a young paddling phenom from Laguna Beach, California. She's been paddling since she was 7. She is the 2018-2019 Junior ISA World Champion and 2019 ISA 200-meter Sprint World Champion. When she's not racing, she's surfing, swimming, and spending time with her friends like high school girls should. Welcome, Jade Housen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Next, she's from Jupiter, Florida, where she lives with her husband. During the week, she's a full-time professor of nursing at a local university. On the weekends, you will find her fishing anytime she can off her paddleboard, kayak, sea-doo, or boat. She is the host of Facing Waves and her own YouTube channel, BA Fishing, and is also often a guest host on many high-profile fishing shows. Welcome, Bri Andrassy.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me, Casi.
Oh, you are welcome. My last guest is across the pond and is up very late at night to be here with us today. She is from Penzance, Cornwall, UK, where she is a single mom raising 3 boys. By day, she works for the local authority of Cornwall Council Planning and Health. And on the weekend, she pursues her paddleboard racing career. She is the winner of the 2019 Women's Master Division at the SIC Columbia Gorge Challenge, the 2019 winner of Masters Divisions at APP Euro Tour at San Seb, and the 2018 winner of the Women's Masters Division at PPG. Welcome, Ginnie Betts.
Thank you very much for having me. It's good to see everybody.
Oh, you are welcome. Wait, I'm missing. No, I got everyone. We were supposed to have Luann on with us today, but unfortunately we were having some connection problems. So we'll have her join up with the group at another time. It is Brews and Boards. So we all have our beer of choice with us today. As I mentioned before, I'm not a beer drinker and I choose things by the can. And I am drinking tonight Illuminations. So what else? What do you guys got over there?
I have a homebrewed kombucha.
Ooh.
Cup of tea. Sorry.
I have peach iced tea because I can't drink.
Salt Life beer. It's really light. Peachy beer.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys again for joining us this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you are. I appreciate you guys spending the time and also sharing your stories. I know a lot of women out there, they see you guys doing some big things, but really don't know your background and how you all kind of got started paddleboarding and following your passion. So with that said, I have a couple quick questions I wanted to ask you guys and just throw it out there and see if you could respond in a single sentence or two for each of these questions. And we'll start off with Ginnie. How did you find SUP and how did SUP find you? What has SUP brought you And what was your most humbling SUP experience or not SUP experience?
Okay, so I found SUP. I was actually out at a cafe with my boys and next to the sea, and looked up on the horizon. I saw like 3 people walking on water. I'd never seen anything like it. And I actually asked the waiter, "What's that? What's that?" And he told me it's stand-up paddleboarding. And I just thought, my God, I want to do that. I just wanted to be out there. So what's brought to me is so much peace, I'd say, in my life. It's brought challenge, and I'd say a lot of restoration as well, particularly to my health and mental health. And a humbling moment is we have some really amazing coasts here in Cornwall. We're a peninsula county, but there's a particular point called Land's End where 2 tides collide, and it's notoriously difficult to paddle around. I thought I could do it, but I couldn't. It was really tough. I had to retreat.
Awesome. Thank you. So Seychelle, same thing for you. How did you find SUP, and how did SUP find you? What did SUP bring to you, and what's your most humbling experience?
SUP, I first found SUP. I was living on my sailboat in the Bahamas, and I was looking for a way to do my yoga practice out on the water, as well as actually try and catch some waves. And so SUP found me. Yeah, I got into it mostly to do SUP yoga, but more than just yoga, I ended up obviously falling so much in love with this sport that it's brought my whole exercise and fitness routine onto the water, but then I turned that into a professional career. So that's been really rad. And my most humbling experience is actually probably not on a stand-up paddleboard, but rather on my sailboat out on deliveries in the middle of the ocean. I've had some really harrowing experiences, but it might be a little too much to get into this evening. But I'll just go ahead and say the ocean is the most humbling experience.
Yeah, it most certainly is. Bri, how about you? How did you find SUP, and how did SUP find you?
Yeah, so I'm in South Florida. I've been here for about, I think 9 or 10 years, and I went to nursing school down here. And I found SUP because I really wanted to go spearfishing, and I had a friend that would just swim out from the beach and go spearfishing, and I was like, man, like, you're just putting the fish on your hip. We should probably have something in between us and the sharks. So I started to that's how I started researching it, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get a SUP. So SUP spearfishing quickly turned into SUP fishing because I love fishing so much. So it definitely took me further than just fishing from the shore. It took me to places that wading couldn't do. And then, my humbling experience, I almost slept in the mangroves one night because I definitely didn't plan out a camping trip well, and it was 16 miles, which I'm sure is not much to the race paddlers here, but it was for me. And a storm came through, and it was just a moment that I realized that I am very small when it comes to storms. So I made it back to the truck that night and slept in the truck.
Oh, it's a good thing. Jade, how about you? How did you find SUP, and how did SUP find you, and what's your most humbling experience?
So I grew up in a beach town, so I was always in the water, and my dad always did stand-up paddling and outrigger canoe racing. So it kind of just found me in the water, and I watched my dad do it, and I wanted to follow his footsteps. And then SUP also kind of helped me focus both athletically and scholastically. It's just kind of given me drive, and it challenges me to do more than I probably could without it. And then lastly, my humbling experience was I did a race in Maui at Ho'okipa when I was like 14, 15, I think, and it was a World Series event, and I thought I was really cool, and I thought I could do it, but a big swell came in, and every single heat I went in, I pretty much got pushed into the beach, and I got last in all my heats, but I still finished. The ocean is very powerful.
That seems to be a theme for many of us, for sure, that the ocean is very powerful and very humbling. With that said, going on to our next topic here, you can't have success without challenges. We've discussed some of our humble experiences leading up to the big things that we've done. Jade, you mentioned before a race, some of the races. What else was a humbling experience, or some of the challenges that you've experienced getting to your high level of racing?
Oh my gosh, that's such a hard question because I've had a lot being so young in the industry. But just looking up to people like Seychelle and Candace and Shay Foudy especially, because I trained with her, it's just, it kind of grounds you to see, wow, like, look at all of these amazing women going so fast and just being badasses. And it keeps me humble. At the same time, it pushes me to get to their level.
Seychelle, how about you? What was some of your humbling experiences pursuing your sport?
Yes, so I would say for me, my first few Carolina Cups were definitely the most humbling and challenging because I trained really hard in the flat water, and every year I thought, I'm ready, I've got this, I'll be one of the top women, and every year the ocean just annihilated me because I trained only in flat water and I couldn't downwind. And so I would be, very wet and very falling behind by the time we got in the flat water. And that went on for several years until I finally moved up here to Melbourne Beach, where I learned how to surf on a race board, and now I can hold my own in the ocean. But yeah, that Carolina Cup will always have a special place in my heart.
Bri, you have a bit of a different take than a lot of these racers. For you, you started out differently, but pursuing your fishing career on a paddleboard, what were some of your humbling moments, paddleboard fishing or doing some big tournaments out there?
Yeah, I think just fishing in general. It's fishing, not catching. So just having that patience, especially when you're trying everything and you think you know what you're doing, and every time you're just like, I didn't catch fish today, and coming back and trying to do it the next day, or planning out a trip and then having conditions turn up on you, especially in Florida. Gosh, there's so many pop-up storms that you're not expecting, and then you're like, okay, how do I troubleshoot? How do I get back with the wind? I feel like I learn something every time I go out, and it's not something that I'm ever going to master. But it's humbling every single time because there's something that goes wrong. I get a hook in my thumb like the other day, and it's not just on a paddleboard, it's fishing in general. It's fishing, not catching. So it's definitely something every single time you're learning something. So
Ginnie, how about you? You've been around the racing scene for quite a while and racing globally and internationally. What are some of your humbling moments paddleboarding and pursuing your sport?
I think for me, it's funny, I'm at the opposite spectrum from Jade. Jade started very young and I started quite old. So I began when I was 41 and without a water sports background. And so similarly to Seychelle, actually learning the skill set that you need to navigate the ocean and to manage the ocean, which is unpredictable and scary at times. So you can acquire the fitness you want, but without that skill set, you stack it a lot. And I had a lot of embarrassing moments, particularly in the surf, has been my Achilles heel, really. And I think it's something I'll be forever learning to do.
Well, it's safe to say that you guys have all worked through your humbling moments on paddleboarding and out there pursuing your sport. What were the moments, if there was a specific moment, did you realize that this is what I want to do, that this is the sport I want to pursue, that this is, this is feeding my soul enough that I really need to stay here doing this either as a career or just as a passion on the side. Seychelle, when did that happen for you?
Well, that happened for me very early on, which actually it's probably going to be not the same answer for everyone, but I feel like stand-up paddle is a sport that you try it and you're either like hooked or not, you know what I mean? So anyways, the moment I knew I was hooked was actually my very first race. I'd been paddling I'd been paddling on a race board for a few weeks, and I had just found out that it was a sport and you could race. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll try and I'll do that. And I won the race for the women's division. And I was like, okay, I think I'll keep doing this because I'm a very competitive person. And so when you find a sport where you're like, whoa, I'm actually really good at this, and I haven't even really learned how to do it properly yet. I just knew it was something that I was enjoying at doing and that I could really excel at, and that just it just ticked all the boxes for me at the time. And I think we're going to get into that a little bit more later, but yeah, definitely the moment I knew was just probably the moment I won my first race. From that moment I said, the whole summer I was like, all right, I'm just planning everything to do with paddling now the rest of the year. Mm-hmm. So
Bri, you're going to have a different take on this than the rest of these ladies. But for you, what was the moment that you knew you wanted to continue pursuing fishing on a paddleboard? I know you're already a lover of fishing to begin with, and you had been doing it all your life. But what was the moment for you that you knew that paddleboarding fishing was something that you wanted to pursue?
I would definitely say, fishing in general, 3 years old when I caught that first keeper, and I was like, Mom, I want to do this every day. I was hooked ever since. I feel like as an angler, you will, if you love it, you will literally fish off of anything. And whether it's wading through water to get to the spot that you think that's where the fish are. When I got my first paddleboard, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go on my knees. I'm going to get over to that other spot over there and get to the deeper spots, because I think that's where the fish are sitting. And I knew, like, when I had my first paddleboard, that it's not just for spearfishing. This is definitely for sup fishing. And little did I know that was even a thing at the time. And I actually met you, Casi, sup fishing on my old board. And when I had that first big sup, I was like, oh my gosh, like I can actually stand on this thing, and I can bring my fishing gear and have a cooler and anchor, and it made all the difference. So I would say that reinforced just that love for sup fishing, and it helped me to see that I could potentially go way further, and not just in terms of spots, but in sup fishing in general.
Yeah, it's an interesting story how Bri and I met. We were shooting big sup videos, product videos down in Jupiter, Florida, and there Bri was in her ripped jeans, throwing cast netting off of a surf style paddleboard with a milk carton crate on the front, and we just walked up to her and started talking, and her passion ran so deep, you could tell just even within the conversation that we were having that we were like, oh yes, we need to have you. You could inspire so many women out there to start this, to start fishing. And actually, she is one of the reasons why I started fishing today. We had Bri on as a guest at one of my camps, and she kind of got me hooked, so to speak. So that was really corny, I know, but anyways, going back to Jade. Jade, you're one of our younger ladies on the panel here. When did it start for you? When did you know that you wanted to pursue racing professionally?
So as a younger kid in elementary school, I had a lot of energy and I did a lot of sports. So I would be doing like 5 sports at once, and paddling was one of those. But I realized that I wanted to pursue it when I won my first PPG junior title in 2017. So I was 15. And it just kind of made me realize, wow, like I can turn this into a career, because I won money. And that was pretty cool. I can't win money in soccer or swimming, or at least not at 15. So not that I'm in it for the money, but it was just cool to get that recognition that you don't really get in other sports.
Excellent. Ginny, how about you? You're the opposite end of Jade. You're like me. We both found SUP super late in life. So how about you? What was the thing that did it for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was aware of leisure paddling, but I didn't know race paddling was a thing. And it was completely fortuitous, really. A leg of the Euro Tour came to a beach 15 minutes from my house, and somebody told me about this race that was going on. So I went down to watch, and I was absolutely mesmerized. I thought I'd never seen anything like it. I was so excited. And at the same time, sort of like, it's too late for me. I'm not going to be able to do that. And there was a woman who stood on the beach one of the races, and I kind of vocalized what I was thinking inside, like, I love this, but I'm too old, aren't I? And I was expecting her to go, yeah, you're too old. She was like, no, you're not. Have a go. I was like, oh, okay. It was just that she gave me that little spark. And I actually entered there was like a cruiser class, for absolute beginners. And someone let me aboard and paddle. And I was hopeless. I was terrible. But I got around the course, and there was the moment when I crossed the finish line, and I was like, I love this. I absolutely love this. And I just felt so strong and excited, particularly when you're a mum, because you spend all your time being infrastructure for other people's goals. And it was like carving out a little space for myself at that moment made me feel really fulfilled. And then after that, I knew I was hooked.
I love that, Ginny. That's such a great story.
That is such a great story. And I can definitely relate to the mom part about finding a piece of you, because you're so used to giving it out to your children and your family, and having that time to yourself is worth so much. But I often hear with a lot of the adventures that I host, I wish I had your life. These are comments and replies to like maybe some of my posts or some of the things that I've done. And I think too often in social media and in the mainstream media out there, we highlight all of our achievements, and then we forget to tell the stories of how we got there, which can be the most inspirational part. So with that said, what are some of the sacrifices that folks may not be aware of that you guys have made in order to get where you are today? Jade, being a young kid in high school, going off to college, by the way, congratulations on going to University of Hawaii, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's awesome. So exciting. Yay. What are some of the sacrifices that you had to give up in order to get where you are today for paddleboarding?
I think it's a little bit different for me because of my age. I've been in school throughout my entire paddling career. So like school dances are usually on Saturdays, and you have to like start preparing, or at least kids at my school are crazy. They start preparing at like noon, and I'm training, and I don't go to parties that much because I need to sleep to train, or I'm away for races. And it does take away a lot of time from like the typical high schooler life, but I honestly wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been one of the greatest experiences I've ever had, so I'm super grateful.
Awesome. That's so good to hear that you love it just as much as it looks like you love it. Bri, how about you, just switching gears, going over to you? What are some of the sacrifices that you had to give up to make this all happen?
I think time, just all around time, whether it's putting it into social media platforms or, preparing rigs. I miss, going out with friends and stuff like that, because I'm usually preparing for a fishing trip and it's a 4 a.m. kind of day. So I would probably say just time.
Seychelle, how about you? What are some of the big sacrifices you gave up to get where you are today?
Sorry, I almost forgot to unmute. Yeah, that's a big question for me. And you also reminded me that I didn't answer, what age I was when I started paddling. And I didn't find this sport until I was 27. I'm older than most people think when that know me. And so I already had a well-established life and career, and I was married to someone who I'm no longer married to. So I actually, when I found paddling, it was at the same time that I decided to leave my ex and start a new life. And so paddling, when I got into the sport, it literally became my new life. And that's part of the reason why I jumped so wholeheartedly into it, was that at the time I was giving up absolutely everything that I'd ever known with a relationship and a career of sailing. And so SUP, or paddling, though, it kept reminding me, I just knew I was on the right path because everything was just happening. I was so passionate and so in love with the sport. And so I knew that I was making the right decisions and that I was doing the right things, and I just never looked back, you know? And so in terms of becoming a professional, agreeing with Bri and also with Jade that you have to make sacrifices to your social life. Of course, I have to also take care of not just getting enough sleep and not going out and partying, but also how do I eat? And nutrition is a huge part of my job as well, and that takes some sacrifices as well. And when I was preparing, what I did early on in my career, my big goal that got me really into being a professional was doing the 24-hour world record. And I had to train so much and so hard for that, but also not just the amount of hours spent training, but the fatigue I felt from the amount of hours I felt training, and also the amount of time and stress and energy to logistically plan pulling off a 24-hour world record. I had to quit my jobs or scale back quite a bit on working to try. So, and then I had to also pay for this world record. So I actually, I accomplished what I consider is the greatest accomplishment in my life was doing that 24-hour world record, especially knowing what I know now about paddling. What I did then was super impressive, and I was so happy, and I did something so incredible, yet I ended it, totally in debt, and, with just nothing. So people don't realize that part that kind of goes into it, which is not just the time and the energy, but the money as well. This sport, Jade, she kind of mentioned, it's don't get into it for the money. Because we do it for the love and for the passion. And I am fortunate enough now, because I did do that after that world record. It was all, it was all for the best. Of course, it was a blessing in disguise, because then I was able to gain sponsorships like SIC and get where I needed to be and be able to make a living doing this sport. And so, we give things up and we sacrifice, but then we get reminded of why it's all worth it, and how we wouldn't, I'm sure every woman here would agree that we wouldn't have it any other way, and right now what hits me more than anything is that I've actually, since the age of 20, I would say 28, when I met my now husband, we've been really wanting to have a family. You meet someone and you're like, this is the person that I'm going to have a family with. And I've been putting that off because I can't, do that and be a professional athlete at the same time. So that's been a big sacrifice that I'm constantly reminded of as well. But, just keep on accomplishing my dreams. And I think there's time for everything in this world. There's time for everything that you want to create in your life. So.
Excellent. Such a great perspective about, having to give up you wanting a family. I mean, that's must have been a big thing for you, for sure. Ginnie, you have 3 kids, you're pursuing the sport, raising your 3 kids, working. What are I can imagine some of your sacrifices. What crosses your mind when you think about the sacrifices that you've had to deal with?
Yeah, it's a funny one, actually, because in some ways people would view it maybe as selfishness more than sacrifice, because of gendered expectations and stuff for somebody at my age. Well, you've got your children, you've got your career, that's enough, surely. And in many ways, when I began, I felt guilty that I was like, no, I wanted this third element to my life. I want my adventure, my sport, and I want my family, and I want my job. Is that even possible? And some people looked at me like, why are you starting doing competitive sport at your age? That's ridiculous. And so sometimes I had to sacrifice expectation and other people's opinions of me as well to pursue something that I knew I really needed. And to be honest, yeah, well, time's a sacrifice. I've had to learn to get up very early in the morning to train and get that done before my regular day. But I kind of found that it's not been so much as a sacrifice as a letting go of things also that were hurting me, certain relationships, certain beliefs I held about myself as well. And so I would say, yeah, there has been some sacrifice, but so much more gain, particularly at this age and stage of my life. Yeah.
I can totally relate to, the comments about being a mom, feeling selfish for wanting to pursue my own adventures, and also hearing some of the comments. So, I think a lot of women out there are misunderstood, those that actually pursue a passion in the outdoor adventure industry, or just anything else outside of raising children, having a career. It is often looked that way, and it's unfortunate because a happy mom is a great mom to have around, just like the rest of you ladies on the panel. Yeah, you're right, especially lately, given the fact that we're all kind of stuck at home. But even you ladies out there that are that don't have families right now, I'm sure you're much happier pursuing your, being able to pursue your passion and getting to do that. With that said, how has your life transformed since you started pursuing paddling? What are some of the things that the positive things that paddling has brought to your life? Seychelle, what has this done for you?
Oh gosh, it's changed my whole life. As I said, it was a whole new direction, a whole new career. It was a way to, I was always athletic, and I always did team sports. And I think, so it combined, my passion of sport, but also with my passion of the ocean, and something that I could just have that was mine, I don't know, maybe that's selfish, but, I think it's taught me how much drive that I have. I didn't realize what an extremely driven person I was. And it's definitely taught me that I can accomplish anything I set my mind to. When I look back and I look at the things I've accomplished, I'm like, damn, I could do anything, whatever I want to do. I could just do it. You have to go whole heart. And so it's taught me that for sure.
Back to you, Bri. Tell us what this has brought to you in your life, paddleboard fishing, or fishing in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's therapeutic, and that was something that really helped me through school, as I was studying for 15 hours a day, seeing patients after patients, and just some very dire situations. And I'm working with vulnerable populations and kids with autism, and just seeing some of just the hard stuff. Getting out and getting on the water has really been therapeutic for me. So even now that I'm done school, and now I'm on the other side teaching, it just helps to get out there and just get away. And it gives me a lot of peace, and it just helps me to see the beauty in the world around us.
Jade, what has this done for you in school, and what do you think it's going to do for you in pursuing college in the future?
It's really cool listening to everyone else's stories. Like, for example, Seychelle kind of had like such a big shift from when she didn't paddle from when she did paddle, because I've been paddling pretty much my entire life. So it's hard to see that kind of black and white transformation for me. But paddling has given me so much. It keeps me mentally in check, and I can see like my drive from paddling transferring over to my schoolwork, because if I don't have the grades, my school won't let me take that leave of absence to go to competitions. So it really just kind of keeps me in check. At the same time, like Bri said, it's really tranquil and peaceful, and it's kind of like an escape from all the stress of day-to-day life.
Ginny, how about you?
Oh gosh, so much. Again, I think, yeah, transformative really. I was in quite, I'd say, a bit of a rut with working kids, and I was probably, if I'm honest with myself, before I found paddling, a little bit depressed and unhappy. And I think paddling just, and that relationship with the ocean just draws out a whole new side of you. I think it makes you rise to challenges that you didn't think you could face before. And I think I found strengths that I didn't realize I had before. And it's definitely made me a happier and more determined person. It's taught me life lessons, I think, that I'm able to pass on to my children now that I wouldn't have had I not began paddling, in terms of strength and resilience and pursuing goals. And I think key to all of this as well is like this, the opportunity to meet other like-minded women. There's always such a spark when I meet with the community. I'm like, yes, I know you, you're my tribe, you know, and you have that kind of deep affinity with other people. And I should point out right now, obviously Seychelle is my coach, and you know, she's brought so much to me. Her energy and her vibe and her teaching has gone kind of way beyond paddling for me. So thank you, Seychelle.
That is such a wonderful gift for Seychelle to give to you, and I'm sure you're giving back to her as much as she's giving to you too as well. With that said, before we close out, I want to ask you guys a question of what is your favorite SIC paddleboard, or the board, your go-to board, the one that you look forward to using whenever you get a chance. Jade, what's your favorite?
I would have to say that my favorite board is probably the RS14 by 21.5, just because I'm always on it pretty much, and it's so versatile. Like, I can take that board. I took it downwinding last week. This week I surfed it in super big swells that we've been having in Southern California, and it worked flawlessly. Flat water, wind, waves, it's perfect board for anything.
How about you, Bri? What is your favorite SIC paddleboard?
So the one that I use for fishing is the 11-foot towel fit, and it's very stable. Like I said, going from a surf sup to actually having a sup fishing board was huge, and it is super stable. I can put all my gear on it. Has all the track pads and everything that I need, bungee to strap down coolers, and all around, that's my go-to board.
Excellent.
I'm cheering because I helped design that board. I'm like, yeah!
Thank you for that.
Seychelle, why don't you tell us what your favorite board is?
My favorite board is the RS14 by 23, and I love the 21.5. Actually, I want to ask you, Jade, if you're on the 21.5, the low volume or the regular volume board. For me, I like the 21.5. I have both of them as well, but the 23 is just the board, kind of like Jade said, where I just could take it in anything, and I'm so comfortable on that board, surfing, downwinding. Like, I just think it's so nice to be on a board where you feel like you can just like dance on it, because then you put all of your power into paddling and none of your power into like, whoa, right? So, yeah, that's my board choice.
Ginny, how about you? What's your favorite board?
Yeah, my favorite board is the same one that Jade mentioned, the 14 RS 21.5. And I've just taken delivery of the 2020 board as well, actually. And I did a 16K downwinder on it yesterday in really good conditions, and I absolutely loved it. I adore it. Yes, really good.
Well, excellent. Well, I'll just close by saying my favorite SIC paddleboard is, well, I have two, so I can't just say one. I love my Slice because I love to surf, and I have not been able to surf in months, and it's very depressing. But hopefully soon beaches will open up and I'll be able to get out there and surf. And the second one is my Okeanos 14, because I can load that thing up with so much gear and take it on any one of my adventures with groups. So those are my two favorite boards. So thank you, ladies, for joining us today, and thank you for sharing your inspirational stories and backgrounds. No doubt you have definitely inspired those viewing out there today, and I can't wait to see what next big things you guys are all going to do. So thank you for being here.
Thank you
for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.